We're here today with Kyle Stortzum and Kimberlin Michels.
I went to North Clay High School and graduated in the year 2000.
How about you, Kimberlin?
I'm Kimberlin Michels, and I went to Newton Community High School, and I graduated in 2010.
Yeah, I went to Ren Lake College for my freshman year, and then I went to Hannibal LaGrange University, and I played baseball all 4 years there.
I went to Lakeland College, and I played softball there for 2 years, and then I went on to play at Valparaiso University in Northwest Indiana.
Kyle and Kimberlin are in charge of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes organization here in Effingham County. Process to being involved in the FCA organization.
Yeah, a good friend of mine, Luke Holt, was the area director for FCA for all of Southern Illinois. And whenever Mike Matheny was coming to town for an area banquet to potentially bring a staffer here to Effingham area, he asked if I wanted to help out. And from there, he asked if I wanted to pray about being a part of it. And I said I would, and just here we are today.
I've been involved for 3.5 years now as a staffer, but my time with FCA dates back to my time in college. That's when I first was introduced to FCA as a student athlete, and I'm just thankful for the opportunity to be on staff now.
Yeah, for me, my experience with FCA has been about 4.5 years. We didn't have it in high school or college, and so when Luke asked me to be a part of helping out with FCA, that was actually my first exposure to FCA, and here we are 4.5 years later.
So what inspires you so much about FCA?
I think there's multiple things there, but one of the biggest things is when I came on staff is, they talked about the influence of coaches. And I've been fortunate enough for my father to be a coach my whole life before I came and during and even past my playing days, but having a lot of coaches in high school and college. And you just see how much impact those coaches can have on their kids, not only in the classroom, but also on the field. And God has placed them there to touch those lives, to be great athletes, to be great teams, and most importantly, to really impact those kids off the field and in life. God's placed them there for that. And so for me, as a parent and having 3 kids, I've got 2 teenagers, I've realized very quickly how much we need our coaches because not always my kids aren't always listening to me. I would hope they are. But for me and my wife, it starts at home. We have to raise our kids the right way. But there's certain times and stages of life where they're maybe not as listening as much, or, they could be ignoring us at times, where we need that coach or that teacher to share those same things that we're teaching our kids. And, the amazing thing is, when they're not listening to us, chances are they may be listening to that coach or to that teacher. Sometimes it's the person who doesn't have to say it is the one that it means the most. And so it takes all of us. And so that's one thing I love about FCA is we feel like we're part of the process, part of that village, along with families, along with churches, along with communities that are really helping, take care of these kids and raise them up to be who God's made them to be.
What type of responsibilities present to you both?
Well, within FCA, we've got 3 main areas of ministry. We've got our donor ministry, our volunteers, and our coaches ministry. And along with that, we also have camps that we're heavily involved in, and also events throughout the year. We're very well known for our camps and our events that we have with all the pro athlete guest speakers. So we've been very blessed to be leading in this ministry, and just with the responsibilities that we have that God's entrusted to us.
Biggest impact FCA has had on your lives?
I think the biggest impact it's had, there's been a lot of numerous impacts that it's obviously had, but I think probably the biggest is just really seeing coaches take those next steps to really love and care for their athletes. We're blessed to be in an area that has so many amazing coaches that really love their kids, but continue to see them pour into them even deeper beyond the game, to take interest in their lives, to be there to be leaders, to watch over, to protect them, to see those coaches really carry on those Christ-like qualities where they're living that out not only on the field but off the field has been the biggest takeaway, because that's just exactly what Jesus did. And to see coaches get that and to take that and take it to their schools, to their teams, it's just amazing. And it's impacted our lives. We want to be a part of that change, but it's amazing to see that take place and how God really moves in people's lives, and those coaches are making such a difference.
I think the biggest impact for me has just been the relationships that have been formed. There's a lot of different relationships that I've built with FCA that never would have probably happened had FCA not been a part of my life. Lots of coaches that I've come into contact that probably never would have happened either had I not come on staff with FCA, and just the people that are consistently pouring into me each and every day, and then I'm able to better myself and go out and pour into others. That's probably been the biggest impact so far.
What are the biggest obstacles that you two face being leaders at FCA?
I think for me, sometimes I'm my own biggest obstacle. Sometimes just letting fear and doubt or pride creep in, and just not allowing God to fully have control in every and all situations. I know I'm sure other people can relate to that in a lot of aspects in their life with their jobs and their careers, but just letting myself get out of the way of what God's trying to do. I think that's probably my biggest piece of advice for other people, but also my biggest piece of advice to myself. Just letting God move in situations and not letting, the enemy attack us.
Yeah, it's kind of similar. I think a lot of times for me, it's just sometimes we can get so busy trying to be everywhere in the areas we cover and with every coach that we can miss. Like for me, I struggle a lot with like a lot of quantity over quality, and we want to do everything with excellence as we serve God and really love others in that process. And sometimes we can get so busy where we're trying to be everywhere that we miss, like Kimberlin said, being where God wants us to be with that coach, with that group of kids, with that team, or wherever we're supposed to be. And so really just slowing down and letting God lead us is the big thing. And that's probably the biggest obstacle, is whenever we get out before God and kind of take off and go, when we should really be waiting on him to lead us. So it's really just slowing down to have more quality over quantity.
My biggest role models growing up would definitely have to be my mom, just her strength and her perseverance. She's a fighter, she had cancer. She's just been through a lot in her life. So she's definitely one of my top role models, but also my sisters. I learned a lot from them growing up, and also learned a lot of things not to do because of them, with me being the youngest of 4 siblings. But they were my main role models growing up. And in my adult life, I'd have to definitely say my pastor, Kevin Cole-Plaisir. He's, amazing dude. I look up to him for so many things when it comes to ministry, but also just our FCA staff. There's a lot of great relationships that I've formed with the rest of the staff. So I'd have to say they're awesome role models in my life.
Yeah, the biggest role models in my life would definitely have to be my parents. My dad is a lifelong coach, and my mom being a coach's wife. I've lived it as they, took care of us and provided for me and my sisters, and really led by example, and also as a coach, and just getting to witness the ins and outs of a coach being successful, but also dealing with the struggles. But just to see their daily grind of taking care of us, providing for us, and really loving us, they would definitely be at the top. But then also I've had a lot of coaches, a lot of pastors. I'm very blessed with our FCA staff. There's just been so many, especially as I think about coaches through the years that have been so instrumental in my life, from summer ball coaches to school ball coaches. A lot of them are still coaching, that have been so instrumental in just loving me and providing for me and taking care of me, and just really being those Christ-like examples in my life.
Describe this community's support behind FCA.
Yeah, the support has been outstanding. We do 2 events every year, with a banquet where we bring in a professional speaker, and we do a golf outing. But we're also, what a lot of people don't know is we're missionaries. We have to raise our support to be able to do this full time, and everything that goes into the ministry, every Bible bot, every camp, every student huddle, coaches huddle, everything we do is through raised support. And so that's came from people in our community, from families to businesses to churches to just the community at large, that has helped really support us both and continue to support us through the years. And so God has made a way, and he's used so many people in this community to help make this happen. So we couldn't do this without the many men and women, families and churches and people that have decided to help support us. And so we are just so thankful for all the community support. We really couldn't do it without them.
Favorite speakers you have had speak at events?
Hands down, Darryl Strawberry. I did not really grow up watching him play. I just knew, he was a great baseball player because a lot of people talk about him. I didn't really know about his, off the field activities that he was involved in until, I started researching him a little bit when I found out he was going to be our speaker, and just to see the impact that he's had and the second chances that God has given him has been amazing. He's impacting the game of baseball, people, in so many different ways now that he knows Jesus as his Lord and Savior, and it's going to go way further than what his impact was on the field as a baseball player.
My favorite speaker is actually 2 of them. Of course, Darryl Strawberry. I grew up a huge Darryl Strawberry fan, so I may be a little biased, but just his life and how, he had all the accolades as an athlete. He had everything the world could offer, and yet he still had nothing. And when he found Jesus, and it came through him, just his life being broken, when he found Jesus, he actually gained everything. And so, like Kimberlin said, the impact he has now is far greater than his playing days. But also Mike Matheny, our very first one, was great because you just found yourself, you didn't want it to end. whereas you were listening to them, they just really kept you at the edge of your seat, and you were just hanging on every word as they shared their faith and how God is using them as coaches, as athletes, as just men of God. And so those are probably my favorite two. All have been great, but those are the two that I found myself really hanging on the edge of my seat.
So what is this year looking like as far as the FCA?
Yeah, this year it's going to be a little bit different. Obviously, we're still dealing with 2020 and the COVID year. We had to mix things up last year, but this year we're actually kind of flipping things. So we always have two big events a year. We have a golf outing at the country club, and we have a banquet with a speaker. And so we've always typically in the past had our banquet here in late winter, early spring, which would be right around now. And then we have the golf outing in the fall. So with all the stuff going on, we've decided to switch that. So we are going to have our golf outing coming up in April or May at the country club. And then we're going to move our banquet back to the fall or late summer, where hopefully by then we may be able to have something indoors for a large gathering. If not, we can have it outside. So we don't really know a speaker yet, but for me, I'd love to think of like Mike Singletary or Ben Zobrist or Adam Wainwright, but that's kind of yet to be determined. So we'll keep you in suspense.
So what goals do you have 5 to 10 years down the road with this organization?
I was joking, but I don't even know what I'm going to eat for breakfast tomorrow. So we'll see within the next 5 to 10 years. But on a serious note, I think just, continuing to build relationships with coaches, whether that be, individual-based relationships, getting them involved with coaches' huddles. We just want to continue to build on that base. Our goal is to have an empowered coach on every single campus that we're involved in. And I know I've got several different counties, and so does Kyle, and we just want to see the gospel continue to flourish at our schools, and for those coaches to feel that empowerment to go out and share that with their student athletes, their coaching staff, their communities, their churches, just any way that they can get involved with other people, and just being disciples who make disciples. And another thing for our area, we're looking for an area director. So that's on the table, and hopefully we'll have one within the next 5 to 10 years. So we'll see.
Something about you too that not a lot of people know.
I love to sing, but I cannot sing a lick. I sing really, really loud at home. Jordan probably gets really annoyed with me, to be honest, but Xander loves it, so I just keep going with it. But also at church, God just wants to hear a joyful noise, so we just try to go with it.
I'd say for me, and this would totally shock a lot of people, but I'm actually kind of an introvert. I'm very much an extrovert. I like being around people, but also as I've gotten older, I like being to myself sometimes. I'm kind of I love deeper relationships and stuff, and I love building relationships with everybody. But I also too, so it can be so overwhelming at times that as I've gotten older, I've actually become more of an introvert, that I like less is more sometimes. And so having more of that quality over quantity is something that would shock a lot of people, because I'm very extroverted, but I'm very much an introvert. Yeah. For us, we just can't say thank you enough for the community's continued support. We thank Tyler for taking the time to be able to interview us. We appreciate that so much, and just get the word out about FCA. And we just want people to know with FCA, we're here to be a part of what God has called us to do, and to be servants. And as we, along with so many families and so many churches and organizations, we want to be a part of just helping reach our next generation to know and love Jesus. And so we do that primarily through a lot of coaches. Coaches spend so much time with our kids. We want to be there to serve and love those coaches the way Jesus does, because they're so vital for our community. We live in a world that loves sport, and that's never changed. Actually, this began back in the 1950s, FCA did, because they saw the influence that coaches and athletes had on their communities. And so for us, we're just continuing that on here locally in our area, of building relationships, authentic, Christ-like relationships with our coaches, in hopes that they will share that with their kids, those they teach, those they coach, and their own families included in that. And so we just want the community to know that we're here to be a part of what God is already doing through so many families and churches and amazing organizations, but we're just a part of that. And we want to use sport to be able to reach the next generation with the hope and love of Jesus.
If you're looking for ways to get involved with FCA, we will put our information out there on Facebook on this post, and you can get a hold of us. We are always looking for more donors, volunteers, and people who just want to be involved with the ministry and get to know us and get to know more about FCA.
We are so thankful for Tyler. And so if you get a chance, please check out all of his media and all the information he has. He does so much for our community, not just for FCA, but for all the community sports, the athletes, the coaches, music, you name it, Tyler covers it.